I want to be quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. Not later, now. I want to own the pocket, make plays, drop dimes to my receivers. I want to feel 80,000 fans on my shoulders as I carry them to victory. You know, nothing major.
This holiday, make your extraordinary wishes come true in virtual reality with NFL Pro Era on MetaQuest 2. Buy now at meta.com/quest. MetaQuest 2 for ages 13+.
A very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Welcome to the Manchester United weekly podcast. I hope everyone's true love is in the process of gifting them 12 Cantonars. I'm Harry Robinson with a slightly hoarse voice, recording not so long after a comfortable victory over Nottingham Forest at an Old Trafford weighed down by an incessant drumming rain, which is still coming down about 12 hours after full time in Manchester. Hardly festive, is it? But it was an excellent win. I know not all of you will celebrate Christmas or enjoy it, so if you're not, I hope you're well anyway. But if you have been, I hope you've had some good time off and enjoyed time with your family. It's a particularly tricky time to record a football podcast, actually, because the fixtures are relentless and gaps in the schedule are very few, as well as finding time to fit in with family commitments and the like. So it's just me again this week without my regular co-host, Jack Tait, with a brief review of the victory over Forest and some thoughts on Cody Gakpo's transfer to Liverpool, having been linked with United in the summer and in the build-up to January as well. In the background is noise from Old Trafford. I started recording about 20 minutes before kickoff, and hopefully it can give those of you who can't make it to games regularly or at all a little taste of home, because it is home, I think, for people even who can't go that often. Now, it was a very good win, and I think especially in the circumstances, it was a big old potential banana skin. Not just the circumstances of the World Cup, but also the fact that late on, clearly, Maguire and Lindelof were ruled out with a virus. Maguire eventually did manage to, or apparently insisted that he came with the team on the bench so he could offer something, and came off the bench and must have been revived by the rain and the noise of Old Trafford to come on and play perfectly well for a short period of time. But given those circumstances, it was a very good win. Mainly, I think, it was so good to have Marcus Rashford and Martial scoring there in these first couple of games back, because those positions are all about confidence, and we know that with Rashford particularly. But also Martial, I think we've seen down the years, and two very good finishes as well. A lovely worked goal for Rashford's opener. And I think, I don't think a set piece is ever as important as when the score is 0-0. In a very general sense, because those set pieces are really there to break what might otherwise be a deadlock, and United have been so poor at doing that over recent years. This was so good because we were playing well actually already, and we'd had chances. I think Tyrone Malacia had his shot had eventually ended up hitting the post, and we'd had other chances, but it stopped it from ever even looking like it was going to turn into one of those days, because we went ahead early with a good set piece. So credit to the coaching staff for that, and credit for Eriksen and Marcus Rashford for finishing off. Martial's later on in the first half was also very good. A lovely quote given to Amazon afterwards, who were broadcasting in the UK at least, by Erik ten Hag, who said, "Oh, this is on Rashford. There is no player who can smile so nice as Marcus, and I want to see him do that. That gives him and the players around him energy." And that's absolutely right. Martial also good. Every time he plays, he's doing well. That's a good thing. He just has to stay fit and consistent. We will see how that goes. We are yet to be convinced over 8 years of his United career, but we'll see how that goes. All of that being said, and Fred came on and gave loads of energy off the bench late on, and his goal was brilliant. I'll come on to Casemiro, who created the chance for that third goal shortly, but There was a great quote after from Ten Hag as well, I think speaking to MUTV, when he said, "Satisfaction leads to laziness." Maybe that will be the phrase to sum up Ten Hag's time at United. We'll see. Satisfaction leads to laziness, and it's a turn on a very common kind of idea in football and all of life, really, isn't it? But United did need to be more clinical and ruthless. It felt like a very good win and a comfortable win and all of that, but we really could have seen Forest off with 5 or 6 goals and should have done. This is a team progressing, so it's very much forgivable for now. But I think it was clear afterwards that Ten Hag thought we should have put 5 or 6 past Forest and didn't do so because we weren't clinical enough. And I think that's absolutely right. It wasn't always necessarily the shot not being perfect at the end. There were a few times when it was the final ball not quite being there. So when Garnacho broke through, and that's not always the fault of the person playing the final ball, it might be to do with the movement. So when Garnacho charged down the left-hand side late on and he pulled it across the face of goal, but Rashford had kind of pulled his run back. Just a slight misunderstanding there of where Garnacho's going to play it, where Rashford's going to be, and so United don't score. But yeah, a good attacking performance. Forest are not an amazing team, as they've shown throughout the season, but it was a good attacking performance, and we've done well there to win. I think at the back, Luke Shaw deserves a lot of credit. Really impressive from him to come in at centre-back, and Rashford will get much of the credit, Casemiro will, but Luke Shaw was really worthy of some praise. He kind of had the same qualities he has at left-back, and I actually thought it's notable that there was a moment during I can't remember if it was first half or second half, I think the first, when the ball came back into the kind of centre-back line after United had an attack, and rather than turning around to play back to De Gea, Luke Shaw just kind of calmly took it. He was under a bit of pressure, calmly took it and played it forward again. And my brother said, we wouldn't have done that last season. I thought, yeah, that is a general team change, absolutely, and Martinez might have done the same. But I also think that's Luke Shaw's comfort on the ball from full-back coming into centre-back, and I thought he gave that quality on the ball there and that calmness. Also still managed to offer a threat in attack, combining with Malacia, while never truly giving up his defensive duties and never seeming to get caught out. And that's a genuine achievement against the decent Forest front line. And so yeah, plenty of praise for him. That being said, a lot of that is down to Casemiro's protection. That's a good stat that United have kept 6 league clean sheets this season with 3 different centre-back pairs, and all have come since Casemiro came into the team. He's really proved everyone wrong since that shaky start. I think I was worried about the pace of the Premier League, but I did think it would just be a matter of time. But I was worried and frustrated that often United seem to sign players who need lots of time to settle in, and I was worried that Casemiro might be that again, but really it only took him 2 or 3 games. I remember the Real Sociedad game at home in the Europa League was really poor, having had a slightly dodgy appearance off the bench, perhaps in the game before that against Arsenal. But then he started putting in proper performances. He is a great midfielder. I mean, one of the perfect midfielders, and that's what we thought we were getting. And I'm really glad we have got that. He's he's shown over his whole career. He's basically the perfect player in that position. And it's just brilliant leadership and skill, tenacity, energy. He has it all, and his role in the third goal, I mean, it's not going underappreciated, and it shouldn't. He was joyous. I think Eric said after, we decided we needed a number 6. We have the perfect one. I think that's about right. Alejandro Garnacho was very exciting again. So much so that the Viva Ronaldo chant, which has been sung on the terraces at Old Trafford with a significant pause while he was away from the club, but for 17 years, was repurposed with his name, Viva Garnacho. That's something I've long thought was an inevitable conclusion to the events of the last 12 months. I was kind of just waiting for it to happen. It seemed the natural conclusion. And not to be a fun sponge, but it does concern me a little bit, because he's a player flying with confidence. He's brilliant, but who really, really needs to stay grounded. And it's such a difficult balance. And I fear any kind of comparison between Garnacho and Ronaldo is just not going to help. I am being a fun sponge, really. But just because it would be such a shame if Garnacho doesn't do what he can with his talent. I remember reading something from Patrice Evra once about him being confused as to why Adnan Januzaj had so many chants after just a few games. Well, because he was good and it was fun for United support. That's the honest truth. But Evra said he was worried at the time about the impact on Januzaj's development. So it's just food for thought. Ultimately, I don't think that's the fans' responsibility. That's down to the coaching staff. But I'm so keen for Garnacho to make the most out of his ability and to make the most out of it at Manchester United as a starter by the end of this season. And if he can keep playing like this and keep offering that, that dynamism on the left wing, it's so good to watch. It's so exciting. No player at the moment at United gets that intake of breath better at the stadium than Garnacho. So if he can keep playing like this and keep pushing himself forward, then it is going to be a sweet, sweet feeling singing that song with his name. But I know the coaching staff will be working so hard to make sure that Garnacho keeps himself grounded, keeps pushing himself forward and makes the most of that ability. There were some other good performances. Eriksen was good, apart from one little mistake. But yeah, he was good again. He's quite a different player to the rest of this United team, and I was thinking about how this United team are getting more of that. The phrase Ten Hag used at the start of the season, and people used to describe the Argentina team, is grinta, which there's not proper kind of translation, but an Italian word meaning that kind of passion and energy and intensity to your game and hardness to your game. It's not a perfect translation, but that I think you'll know what I mean. The United team's beginning to get a bit more of that, particularly with Lisandro Martinez, but also just in general. And Eriksen is kind of the antidote to that, the just quiet conductor. But he's very good to watch. He does some brilliant things. The only other thing I mention is Bruno was on and off, kind of in the normal sense, but provided some great moments. He provided that little flick on after a brilliant Rashford ball that Anthony had to score. There was a really good chance that he should have buried, which is a shame he didn't as well after the disappointment of the World Cup with Brazil. And the only other thing with Bruno, the attempted lob from 40 yards was one of those where as he hits, you're going, oh, what are you doing? And then it was close enough to justify it absolutely and get you excited. And that's what you go to matches for, is to get that moment of excitement. Even if it doesn't go in, the audacity to do that was brilliant. I loved it. And yeah, to wrap up, Forest are hardly the most difficult of opponents, but they've had much better preparation conditions than United, not just in terms of World Cup effects, but also with the Maguire and Lindelof news that they were out with a virus. And to make it as comfortable as it was is a really good sign, and that was the same against Burnley, who are a very good team, playing really good, challenging football on the company at the top of the Championship. And to win 2 matches back-to-back with that kind of comfort and dominance is not something we've done in some time. So that was good. It was also really good to see Jesse Lingard get an appropriate reception at Old Trafford. He's Marmite, there's no denying that, but he's a bit misunderstood. He's badly advised, and he deserves an applause like that and a moment like that as an academy boy who scored in important cup finals for United. thing really on the Cody Gakpo news. I think ultimately, so the news is United were interested in him in summer. Pretty much had some agreement with him. He also came very close to joining Leeds in the summer, and then United was supposedly interested again in the build-up to January. Whether that was true or not and how interested they were, we don't know. There's some conflicting reports. And now Cody Gakpo is set to join Liverpool. They've announced that an agreement is there. He just needs to do his medical and all those final bits. But first, I do think he's a better fit for Liverpool than for us, and I think he'll do very well there. I think he would have done well, but not as well at United. And that's therefore not a reason to panic and say, we've missed out on the best signing, because the best signing for every club is different. And to me, Gakpo was playing really well at the World Cup, but it still didn't quite feel perfect. United need a centre-forward, a proper centre-forward, not another form of Rashford who can play in that role, but isn't his natural role. That all being said, I think what grates, and I think this is what a lot of people will be feeling, what grates is seeing how well Liverpool managed to pull this off. A decent fee, nice and quick, wrapped up before the windows opened. Gakpo will be theirs to utilise all throughout January for more than the second half of the season, because we're not even halfway through yet. Compare that to United's attempts, transfer sagas, always a failed transfer or two before the desired one comes off. Bruno Fernandes a couple of Januaries ago was a painful process. There are a couple of caveats. The first one being the United structure has changed since that Bruno Fernandes deal. We did manage to kind of just suddenly sign Casemiro in summer, so there's that. Tyrell Malacia as well, suddenly. The others being that United get a lot made up about them in the media, normally with those sources coming from agents who have something to gain by creating that story. And that United do get charged a premium by other clubs who are aware of their vulnerability. So there are those caveats as well. There is all of that. It's a complex issue, but for me, it's one where I look and think, he's going to be good there and give them something new. That's annoying, rather than, we've just missed out on the perfect signing. What I hope is that this will encourage United to pursue other, maybe less well-known, but more suitable targets at a better price. The club's short of money, that much is obvious. And we spent a lot in summer, and so much is unclear with the potential investment takeover news as well. It's all a little confusing at the moment. January's not started yet. We'll see what happens, but it's a very difficult one to read at the moment, whether United are really going to sign someone in January or not. Erik ten Hag is consistently saying United need to sign someone, but you get the sense he might really have to push for that internally to benefit from whatever little money there is left, and that United are going to have to be pretty creative with their targets. Coming up next, Wolves on New Year's Eve. They had a late winner against Everton, 2-1 win after a not brilliant performance, but they'll be confident now. A new manager, his first game ends in a win, new signings to come. We're away at Molineux. It's a really tricky one. It's a fixture that's caught us out many times over the last few years. Wolves are a bad team at the moment, and we have to, again, make them look like a bad team, as we did with Nottingham Forest. United can really... You get the sense that it's a fairly easy run of fixtures, these. Burnley, Forest, Wolves, then Bournemouth, then Everton in the FA Cup, then Charlton in the League Cup, and then City. You feel like before City, had a real opportunity to get maximum points out of these games and to progress in 2 cup competitions. It's asking a lot, because to win that many games in a row, whoever your opponents, is very difficult to win them when all the fixtures are so close together and the squad is made a little bit thin by World Cup absentees or illness or injuries. It's very difficult. But you just think, what could be if United can do that? What could the confidence get to? What could the faith in Ten Hag and his methods get to? So that's something to hope for. That's it. I'll see you all in 2023. Thank you so much for listening, either just to this episode or throughout the year. Thank you to all of you who have left ratings, reviews, or sent in nice comments to me or Jack. It always makes our day, and we appreciate them greatly. Thank you to our patrons for your support, especially. You allow us to keep making episodes and to push the podcast on a little bit. And yeah, Happy New Year, everyone. Stay safe and have a brilliant start to 2023.
Sports Social Podcast Network.